This is my Quirky recipe for no washing up flapjacks and oaty granola bars. In case you didn't know, flapjack is a British baked snack that's made of oats. Very sweet, sometimes sticky, chewy and starchy. It's like a much sweeter, richer version of granola bar. My Quirky recipe is somewhere in between. Not as sickly as a traditional flapjack, but more buttery than a typical granola bar. This is one of my favorite things to make when I have the urge to bake something, but don't want to wash dishes. I use a loaf pan that has a 20 by 10 cm base approximately. Line it with foil. To make it easier, I form it around the outside first. Then gently ease the foil inside, take care not to break it. I want a good fit and use my knuckle to gently push the foil into the corners. If you want to make a bigger batch, you want a wider baking tray. 50 grams of butter. Instead of melting the butter in a pot or in the microwave, I just do it in the oven. Put the tray in the oven, then turn it on to 180 degrees Celsius or 160 for a fan oven. I don't need the oven preheated to melt the butter, so I haven't turned it on earlier. Take the tray out as soon as most of the butter has melted. It takes about a minute for me, but it depends on your oven. Tilt the tray a little just to grease the sides. Add 100 grams of rolled oats. The oats soak up all that melted butter, so it's very easy to stir. Just do it gently to avoid breaking the foil. I used the same spoon from earlier. You can use a spatula if you prefer. Then add 20 grams of flour, a pinch of salt. If you use salted butter, you can skip the salt, and 20 grams of sugar. I also added a small dash of cinnamon and a big dash of sesame seeds. These are optional. It's very easy to stir these into the buttery oats. Press down, but don't need to pack very tightly. Just make it as level as you can. Now it's ready to be drizzled all over with golden syrup. It's a very British ingredient and not easily found in some places. I have tried 2 alternatives. I'll talk a bit more about that at the end of the video. 70 grams of golden syrup. I tilt the tray a little just to even it out a bit and make it flow to the edges, but it's not crucial. Don't try to mix the syrup into the mixture, it's difficult and messy. Now it's ready to go into the preheated oven. The baking time can vary from 14 to 30 minutes, depending on what texture you're after. This is after 14 minutes. It's a light golden color. The texture will be softer and starchier, more like a traditional flapjack. I like mine baked a bit longer. Back in the oven for another 6 minutes. This is after 20 minutes of baking. It's a darker golden brown. The texture will be firm but still chewy. That's how I like my flapjacks. If you're after crunchy granola bars, then bake for 25 to 30 minutes. Leave to cool, on a wire rack if you have one. It has been cooled for an hour. Take the whole thing out. My tray is still clean. As long as you haven't broken the foil, there'll be nothing to wash up, except that spoon. Peel away the foil carefully. I usually break mine in a plastic bag, and I store them in the bag in a tin. But I'll sacrifice a knife today and cut some neat pieces for decent pictures. I'm breaking a piece just to show you the texture. You can tell how it's firm but not snappy. For me, the level of sweetness is just right. Of course, you can adjust the recipe to your own taste. It's decadent enough to have as a treat with a cup of tea, but not too sickly and heavy. It's oaty, buttery, and the golden syrup gives it a toffee-like flavor. Alternatives to golden syrup. Honey is a good option, but it tastes sweeter than golden syrup, so you should use less of it. It will be more of a crumbly granola bar texture. I have also tried sweetened condensed milk with a nice result. It gives you a stickier, chewier, richer texture. It's not as sweet as golden syrup, so I used more. Thanks for watching. I hope you give this recipe a try.